Hello, everyone, and welcome to FECast, the official podcast of Friends of Eternal. I am Sunyveil, your host, and today I am joined by my good friend Stormblessed. How are you doing, Stormblessed?
I'm doing pretty well today. Just had a little bit of a headache earlier, so we're getting a little bit of a late start, but I'm excited to talk about it as always.
Yeah, we have so much to talk about. I mean, it feels like every episode before we get started, I'm always saying, oh my goodness, there is so much to talk about this week.
Yeah, we were like, Sunny was like, here's a list of things. It's like, oh wait, there's more things to include. That's every time.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into it. Next week, there's going to be the sixth and final ECQ of the season. This is going to be thrown. And I mean, we have, 5 people qualified, and we'll be qualifying how many more?
Well, there's I think there's 16 total, I believe, and it's 4 from the Masters challenges, 6 from the ECQs, 4 from draft, and then 2 spots for reasons we don't know what they are yet. I believe off the top of my head, so I could be wrong with some of those.
Yeah, right. Okay, so we actually do have 7 people qualified thus far. The 8th person is going to be qualified this weekend, and then we have Okay, great. Yes, so if you want to get a spot in Worlds, battle it out, bring your best deck next weekend. We'll be talking about that at the end of the episode. But before we get to that, let's talk about the tournament that happened this past weekend.
It was taken down by Spellcrag. Spellcrag managed to defeat the swarms of nightmares and, some FTJ, some creation decks. So managed to defeat the whole horde of nightmares. Though is the real winner. But yeah, so Spellcrag's still a good deck, but the real story from the tournament, in my mind, is the resurgence of Even Vox. Yes, Even-Handed Golem is still a very powerful card. Take out one style of Even deck, in this case Elysian, by nerfing a bunch of Elysian cards, and it turns out that there's still a bunch of really good cards at even costs. In this case, the new staple from Whispers of the Throne, Vox Nurturing Sadist, is a 2-cost 3/2 for Fire, Time, Shadow, and it has the effect when you play a nightmare, it gets +1/+1 for each nightmare in your void. Exhaust Vox and sacrifice 2 units to gain 4 health. The enemy player sacrifices a unit. And with Corrupted, the benefit is late game. You can just sacrifice, say, 2 unfamiliar interlopers, make the opponent sacrifice a unit, you get 4 health, and then your interlopers, because they bring back the corrupted unit, they are 0/2s. But let's say you have like 4 nightmares in the void already from previous corrupted units, suddenly you have also 2 4/6s that become 4/5s, but still. So Vox works really well with corrupted units, and most of the good corrupted units are in fact 2 costs. You can throw in some strange burglars, some good time sloths, even-handed golem obviously, and you got yourself a very fancy new deck, especially with the other new card Blight Moth.
Yeah, this deck was pioneered by a friend of the show, the Boxer, who made another top 8. Jeez, but the Boxer has just been on fire this season, and he wrote an excellent post article about it on teamrankstar.com. Definitely will be linked to in the notes if you want to learn more about this even-handed Vox deck. I know a lot of the Team Rankstar people played it, and it did very well. But it didn't make the finals. So the finals was Spellcrag by Vahakin. I don't know how to pronounce their name. I apologize if I butchered it. Beating the Burgund, who is on Ixtun unit list. And in the top 4, we had friend of the Discord, Keith Peleg, who made the finals of the last ECQ. Hold on, editing Sunyveil stepping in here for just a second. Just making a quick correction to what I said during the cast. Keith Peleg made the finals of the previous ECQ, not this last one. Anyway, back to the show. Made the top 4 of this with FTJ and another copy of Spellcrag by another friend of the Discord, Carnage. So congratulations to those 2. Also congratulations to Doc28 and the Boxer for their top 8 performances. And oh shoot, there was one more friend of Eternal in the top 8.
Murder of Crows?
Right, Murder of Crows. Oh, I apologize, Murder of Crows. Congratulations to you as well.
Murder of Crows, I got your back. I recognize you as a person, Murder of Crows.
Hey, it just wasn't right in front of me at the time. All right, congratulations everyone who participated and did well. We have another tournament next weekend to look forward to and see, try to take that one by storm as well.
So I didn't take it by storm. I didn't play in the QCP. So just disclaimer, I didn't play in the QCP event because I currently have, I think, 25 or 30, somewhere between 25 and 35 ECQ points. And so I was like, you know what? I don't really want to put out the effort because I also have to try to make top 10 masters, top 20 masters in both formats. And I'm just gonna, it's not worth the extreme effort. It wasn't worth it to me because, for just 3 free wins. I just didn't want to spend the time, and so I probably would have ended up playing Even Vox, a version of it with Sloths. But Sunny, I think you went in with a copy of Keith's deck.
Yes, I played card for card Keith Peleg's deck, and that's not something I do very often. But Keith Peleg is an excellent player and someone whose deck building I trust, and it did very well. I went 21-7 and had to resign in the top 32 because I had to get going. But I was paired against Doc 28, so like, I got the points that I was looking for. So I was perfectly happy with that tournament performance, and Doc 28 was on Even-Handed Vox, which is probably a miserable matchup. So the one thing I would say about the deck list is I thought that Grodov Stranger wasn't very good in it, but we're going to talk about why Grodov Stranger should probably be cut from FTJ anyway in a second.
Yeah.
But I think it is kind of ironic that Grodov Stranger got nerfed, even though I thought it wasn't good enough for the deck. But anyway, well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Wait, Keith's not playing Grodov Stranger though.
Oh, he wasn't? Okay. He was in a version that he posted that I took for card.
He's playing Naoki Rezon Stormhold Knife.
Yes. We actually did talk about that in the Discord, about how I thought that Grodov Stranger could be replaced by something like Rezon. That seemed like a pretty good one. Also, I guess I didn't check Keith Peleg's list. I just assumed that it was the one that I copied. Let me take a look here. Are they playing? Yeah, still playing Karos. I actually thought that the Karos wasn't very good. I think that like Distillation might have been better. But in any case, the rest of the deck worked out very well. Thank you, Keith Peleg. Shout out to you.
I mean, basically the standard FGJ market is Sword of Unity, Shenron Speaks, Zoltar Arcanum, and Combrei Banner, and then a blank slot for whatever thing fills the rest of the deck up.
Yeah, I thought that Distillation would be a good one, but I haven't tried it out. Anyway, yeah, so that was last week's tournament. Congratulations, everyone, again. And we've got another tournament this next week. It seems like every 2 weeks we have a tournament. This is fantastic. I really hope that Direwolf is able to keep this up even after, ECQ and Worlds qualifying season. Even if it's just a tournament like the Spring Challenge, like that would be great. I would love to see, tournaments every 2 weeks, even if the stakes aren't very high. I've been pushing for this for a long time now.
I have a great time with all the tournaments I've entered, and I like the casual tournaments. I didn't enter this one, but I did enter the previous one, and I didn't enter. It's fun because the last tournament, the Expedition QCP event, I entered with just a terrible deck, got my 15 wins, and was happy about that. Because there wasn't much on the line, so I didn't feel obligated to bring my best deck to the forefront. And you can just kind of chill and have a good time with some good Eternal games.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing. Also, we've talked about burnout on this podcast before. If the stakes aren't always super high, then I think that helps a little. If you can have more relaxing tournaments, if that's even the thing.
So, but for the next tournament, though, there's some very big news, and it's not just the new style of deck called Even Vox, but we have a lot of balance changes, really, really important one.
Yeah, so it didn't make the top 4, but Stone Scar Aggro was a huge player this past weekend, and 2 cards from it are getting nerfed. Crooked Alley Guide is now a 3/2, and Nimble Conscript is now a 3/3. These are the 1-cost shift cards, and I think the reasoning behind this is that they both avoided removal too well. Like Nimble Conscript was too good at dodging Hailstorm, which was supposed to be a weakness of the deck. And
the specific reasoning from Direwolf's article is, with a smaller Borderlands lookout, these shift 1-drops were a bit too ahead of the curve compared to other options. So that's their specific line of text in the dialogue of the article about these things. The interesting thing to note about Crooked Alley Guide is that it was once a 3/2 when it was first released, and it was buffed to a 3/3. So now it is back down to a 3/2. I think they should have just kept Crooked Alley Guide as a 3/3 and made Nimble Conscript a 3/3 as well. I think you can have a mono shadow card be strictly better than a mono fire card. Not every fire card should be strictly better than a shadow card, but in this case, I think that the game wouldn't have died if that was the case.
So I think that these changes, they affect Stone Scar, but Stone Scar is definitely still a deck, right? I mean, if Stone Scar was the most played deck this past weekend, do you think that's going to change for next weekend with these changes?
Yes. Well, no. Well, not just these changes, but there's a very specific later change that really hurt Stone Scar a lot.
Oh shoot! Did I not see that? Oops.
I'm talking about the Defiance buff.
Oh, okay. Right. All right, we'll see what that is in a minute. There were also 2 more nerfs. Grodov Stranger and Makar Stranger continued to get nerfed. I actually thought that both of these cards were fine, but I mean, I'm also super unimpressed by expensive cards compared to everyone most of the time. So Grodov Stranger now only draws 1 card upon attacking, and Makar Stranger is now a 4/2.
Remember when I said they were busted, Sonny? Remember I said they were absolutely busted? They were nerfed twice. Feel vindicated. Man, I don't know how good Grodov Stranger is anymore, or Makar Stranger at this point.
Really? I think that doesn't change how good Grodov Stranger is for the most part. I think it changes how good Grodov Stranger is in like control matchups.
Yes.
But I mean, most of the time, it's like against mid-range deck or against aggro decks, it still blanks their board and ramps you, and I think that's good enough.
It's still very good, but I will say, well, against control decks, it's a lot worse because it's so much less of a threat. Because let's say your opponent gets 2 attacks with the Grodov Stranger, and then you manage to kill it. Before they draw 4 cards, now they draw 2. Even if you can let them get 1 attack with Grodov Stranger and still be fine in the control deck, knowing that if you want to take a turn off to like Honor of Claws or like Prodigious Sorcery or whatever, to just a setup turn basically to draw cards, you can do that because Grodov Stranger can't draw an equivalent number of cards anymore that you can draw. So I think it's a lot worse against the control matchup. 1 is a lot less than 2, oddly enough. And Makar Stranger enthroned
1 per turn too.
Yeah, and the key for Makar Stranger is that now it dies to salvo, where before it survived the salvo. So that's why I think the big hit there is that dying to your opponent's 1 cost card that also lets them access the market is very bad.
Yeah, and holy cow, Salvo has made such an impact on Throne. It's seeing play almost everywhere over any deck that would play a Fire Merchant or any fire deck, basically, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the next nerf on the list, Inspired Prank, one of the reasons that it got nerfed was Blazing Salvo. I think Blazing Salvo plus Inspired Prank is just more powerful than Merchant plus Inspired Prank was, especially because Inspired Prank and Merchant kind of used to fight for the same space in a little bit because they were both 3 cost cards that did a thing. But now with Salvo, you can play your 4/2 drops, you can play your hyper aggressive deck, and then Inspired Prank for an extra card, very tempo positive extra card. You use a 3 cost 4/4 or 5/5 or higher in the late game. So I think slowing that down probably makes sense.
Yeah, the other thing about Inspired Prank is we talked about this on last time show with Praxis Trove.
Yes.
It's a 3-cost spell that makes a 4-cost unit, so you'd get a 4-cost spell immediately also if you play Inspired Prank off the Trove. So I think that's a good change. They needed to keep the symmetry on Inspired Prank, so it didn't work out that way.
Yeah, I think buffing it and then re-nerfing it makes sense in a sense, even if it was too powerful at 3, even back then, because they needed to showcase, hey community, Bargain's really good. Stop being dumb. Stop sleeping on Bargain. It's a free card. Take your free card. So I think Inspired Prank probably will still see played Yeti decks because we've seen that it is really powerful, and the opportunity cost of losing a market slot isn't that high in a Yeti deck.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some changes, especially to Expedition Rakano. So Emblem of Shavka now makes a 3/2. Shenra is now Mastery 10. Tinker Overseer is now a 2/1. Acclaimed Artisan now has Mastery 6. Kodash's Stranger is now a 2/2.
2/1.
I like all of these changes. All of these cards seemed like just really pushed. Shenra was just like such a nightmare a lot of the time. It was really annoying to play against. And like Acclaimed Artisan also felt like it got its mastery super fast. So I'm good with all these changes.
I'm very happy with the Acclaimed Artisan change, especially for draft, because in draft it was really annoying because like they'd play it on Acclaimed Artisan on 2, and then you'd play like a
2/2.
You'd play just like a stranger, and then they'd attack, and then you like wouldn't play a 3-drop, and then they'd attack again, and then they'd get mastery, and then you're like, darn it, now I have to rectify this instead of their later actual threat. So I really like the change for draft specifically, and it all seemed fine. Emblem finally, one of the 5 emblems got nerfed after so long.
Yeah, it didn't take long for me to, after playing with the emblems, for me to be like, yeah, these cards are pretty good.
Emblems getting the Ixtun Merchant effect of a 3/3 or 3/2. The really odd one, in my opinion, was also by the way, Tinker Overseer set 1 card untouched until now.
You lasted so long, Tinker Overseer.
The really surprising one though is Kodash's Stranger. That one surprised me the most.
I mean, I think it's fine. Like,
Oh, I think it's fine too, but
it has the same problem in a sense that Shenra has, in that, like, if you don't get an answer to it fast enough, it just becomes way out of reach. It just never can answer it.
so the nice part there is that it still does a lot of the same powerful things and still dies to basically all the same things it did before. Like it dies to salvo the turn you play it, for instance. But what it really doesn't do now is it doesn't buff your deck as much anymore, but more importantly, it takes longer for it to become an unstoppable threat. Because before, it attacks as a 4/4, and if you don't get it, the next turn attacks as an 8, and then at that point, it's basically the Abyss. It basically will kill one unit every turn.
I guess it's pretty similar to Grodov Stranger's nerf, in which basically your window for answering it is bigger now, which is good.
Yes, that's fair. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah. So I actually didn't think that, because I hadn't actually played Expedition since the past ECQ, so I don't know if Rakano was too powerful or not. So I'll say that these changes seem fine, seem reasonable. Presumably, the Direwolf again has more data than we do. But again, I'd like to just point out that when this Expedition format started, the latest one, ignoring Whispers, Rakano aggro wasn't a thing at all until Ellie made a modifier deck, and then Chamomile innovated on that to make Rakano aggro. And then suddenly it kind of spread everywhere. And, there was weeks and weeks before Rakano aggro was discovered as a viable and very good deck. So, just in the future, just keep in mind, you can always deck build. There's probably lots of decks out there that would be good that haven't been discovered yet.
Yeah, and I mean, even Vox falls into that category as well, right?
Well, Vox hadn't been released, but yes. But no, Vox and Blightmoth, both of those are pretty big. But even FTS Sack probably would still have been decent without those two cards in the deck. So
yeah, and just going back to Rakano for a second, I think a big part, or at least something that played a role in these cards being nerfed, is the release of Milos, right? That's a very big addition to Rakano aggro.
That's true. That is true.
All right, continuing down the list, we have Master's Blade becoming a 0/0 base. It still gives the buff for each of your battle skills, but doesn't give a buff on top of that. I think this is good. I mean, you would play it on something that had 3 or 4 battle skills anyway, and it would just do a ton of damage.
The reason that it was so pushed before is that it was a failsafe. If the Strangers decks were too powerful, Master's Blade kills all of the Ancestor Strangers, right?
Uh-huh.
If you got your Grove Stranger Master's Blade, that really sucked, and you basically lost the game immediately. So the fact, and Daryl says this in their article, the fact that all the Strangers have been nerfed passively means that Master's Blade doesn't need to be as powerful, because it might be too powerful now that the Strangers are a lot weaker. On top of that, I like the change a lot because it encourages it for the use that it's supposed to have, which is that you play it on units with battle skills to get the Invoke off. Because before, you could play it on units like 1 battle skill and get the Invoke off in 2 turns. Now, if you play on unit with 1 battle skill, you might not get the Invoke off for 3 turns, and that's a big deal. So this pushes it towards what the intended uses of it are, and the fact that its failsafe isn't as needed as much anymore.
Yeah, I was playing in the market of decks that weren't specifically trying to get battle skills, so yeah. And Bisma loses the Entomb ability, which I'm glad about, because Bisma passing on, like Exalted and Revenge and Deadly is just like, it was so miserable. The Unseen deck was miserable.
Bisma's a weird card, and still a weird card, and I guess it's slightly less weird now. It's a lot simpler of a card, which I think is a pretty decent thing. It's so funny looking at the card and seeing like 3 lines of text rather than 6.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some of these buffs. The merchants, the original merchants. Ixtun Merchant is now a 3/3. Corendon Merchant is now a 2/2. Genev Merchant is now a 2/3. That's an interesting one, because that isn't just reversing an old change. It's actually a 2/3 now instead of a 3/2. And Winchester Merchant is now a 2/3. So I think that, 3 of these are just reversing old changes, right? Aurelian Merchant, they figured they just shouldn't touch, right? Yeah.
Only one of these is reversing an old change.
Oh, yeah?
Ixtun back to 3/3 is the old change. Everything else is a buff or a change.
Oh, okay.
Genev was a 3/2. Corendon was always a 2/1, and Winchester was always a 2/2.
All right, my memory just sucks then, I guess.
No, see, remember, the key is that Winchester was terrible, and you were never scared to see your opponent play it, but now it's maybe a decent card.
Are you sure? I think it's still kind of terrible.
Look, it's a lot less terrible. As a 2/3, it has Unseen Commando stat lines before it gets attacked and, lifesteal and stuff.
Let's be real here. Unseen Commando is a 3/4.
But no, so importantly, it doesn't die to salvo anymore, which I think is actually pretty big.
Yeah. Corendon Merchant not dying to pings. That's actually huge.
Yeah, so Granite Merchant doesn't die to pigs. It means it can block 1/1s better, which is relevant with, sacrifice decks being a thing. I wonder if Winchest is good enough. My suspicion is that it's probably still not, but it's a lot better as a 2/3, let me tell you. I really like the Jenny change. Jenny going to a 2/3 makes a lot of sense to me. The reasoning as well is that if it was a 3/2, it would compete with the Haru Smuggler, which has that I can't recall.
Rhyme Conclave Smuggler. Yeah, and the other thing is, like, it would also just be aggressive. I don't know. Like, Genev Merchant was just, like, the best aggressive unit when it was a 3/2.
I mean, it was basically, the emblem unit for free that came with the emblem unit stat lines that came with a market swap. The emblem units already is really good, as we've seen. So, like, for 1 extra power, you basically got to access the market.
Yeah, I guess I actually never thought to compare the emblems with the merchants, but it's actually pretty close. Like,
Yep.
Genev Merchant was a 3/2, and then the emblem was a 3/1, both with Aegis, and then, like, the Justice one, we had a 2/1, and Winchester Merchant was a 2/2, both with flying, and then Fire is a 3/3.
Crendon was a 2/2 deadly. The only one that's different is the time one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't make sense to have the, when
effect.
you decimate a power, you get
You
a card that adds power.
Decimate power. Add a copy of this power to your hand. You want to just take one for the red net. And that actually is not the worst idea, though. If it was a card that was a power that was decimate, add a copy of it to your hand, it would mean that you get to trigger Empower every turn for the cost of 1 damage.
That seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's probably way too good, but it is an interesting effect, though. Well, it also means, though, it does mean, though, that you don't get to ever actually ramp, because every turn your power would lose itself, right? So you also get that effect of never getting to actually get more power.
It still seems really good.
But anyways, this is not a custom card podcast.
Maybe that'll be the next Stormblessed 5 custom cards by Stormblessed. All right, let's talk about some more buffs. We have Transpose, which is the one market card of the latest set that saw 0 play and now deals 2 damage. It's twice as good.
Oh my goodness. Oh my god.
That gets 4 cost cards, right?
Yes.
I still think it's like, it doesn't offer a resource trade in the same way that all of the rest of the...
You are correct.
Yeah, all the rest of the market spells do, so I think it's probably still not good enough, but we'll see.
But they said they wanted, but the article says that we also wanted to further increase the strength of 4-cost options available to players, which means that they buffed Yeti Pull, so now you can put that in your transpose markets. To be fair, so just to clarify, I love the change on Yeti Pull. I think that's a good change. I think the card's a lot better. Instead of costing 7 and being super expensive, it's now Nahid's Distillation basically on a stick. But the reasoning of let's buff Yeti Pull so they'll put in transpose markets is just kind of funny to me. That being said, maybe not the worst idea ever to put a Yeti Pull in a transpose market. I don't know.
No, it does seem pretty silly. Like, if you're dealing damage to face, is Yeti Pull what you're looking for? Probably not, unless you're going big on spell damage. But even then, like, Yeti Pull isn't affected by spell damage, right?
Well, so the other thing is that the part of transpose that you would potentially want to put it in is, a like spell crag deck, right? Like something like that. The problem there is that if you put Yeti Pull in the spell crag deck, you play it, kill some units, whatever, but you really want to be able to draw the cards off of it. But because you're playing spell crag, you've played no other units up until now, so when you play the Yeti Pull, the opponent will just throw the removal spell that's been dead in their hand the whole game at it, right? Like, they're like, oh, I can finally use my Annihilate on something. I guess I'll annihilate this Yeti Pull, So, like, well, I don't know. It's funny to me. It's funny to me that their reasoning for buffing Yeti Pull is to put it in the transpose market.
Yeah.
I'm tempted just to what's it called, to build a deck that's really good, just to be like, Gareth was right. Yeti Pull the transpose market.
All right, fun time is over. Now the big buff is we are reversing the Defiance nerf. Now it kills something that is 3 cost or less, stuns units that are 4 cost or greater. I am not a fan of this. Yes, it'll be better against Stone Scar, but I thought that Defiance was not a particularly fun card to have in the metagame, and I'm not looking forward to it being back.
Defiance is back, and that means that Justice is king again. Because Defiance is phenomenal. Defiance is a little bit worse now that Blazing Salvo exists, basically. Because before it was that every deck was guaranteed to have at least 4 targets for Defiance, but now decks aren't guaranteed to have targets for Defiance. but it kills Milos. It kills Champion of Chaos, which is big for it kills Ixtun merchants now. Compared to before, a lot of the Stone Scar power was placed into their 3-drops, and now Defiance kills them. And Defiance is really good, and you should be playing Defiance in your decks probably. It's a very good card because the thing is, a lot of people are like, there are people I've heard people say things like, it's not good against unit list. And that's true. It is not good against unit list. But there's this wonderful thing that I call markets. And against unit list, you just throw your Defiance in the market, and you pull out your good card.
Or you could just play Defiance in your market. Editing Sunyveil stepping in here just to say I am truly sorry for the next 45 seconds of this. I'm leaving it in, but this is not one of my finer moments. All right, here we go. Brace yourselves. So, Stormblessed, tell me something. Are you interested in watching diverse matchups in the next ECQ?
I am interested in watching diverse matchups.
Okay, that's
ECQ.
cool, but...
Sunny, are you interested in watching diverse matchups in the next ECQ?
Wait, I have a better idea. What if we just watch a ton of FTS Mirror? How's that sound?
I don't like that. That sounds miserable.
Well, I mean, that was Defiance was a cornerstone of FTS, of Winchester, or just any
a cornerstone of FTS. Is it a cornerstone of Fire Time Shadow?
I think it is now. Wasn't it?
Can you play Defiance in a Fire Time Shadow deck?
Dang it! I meant to say Winchester.
Oh! You mean FJS? Okay.
Man,
I'm like, is Even Vox playing Defiance? That seems wrong on every level.
Gosh. I am clearly not functioning. We're just going to have to leave that in there. Yep. Welcome to FECast, the best podcast for not confusing the listeners and making jokes that land flat.
I think that joke landed perfectly. The audience will back me up.
All right. Okay, so lots of Ikaria mirrors, right? Ikaria is one of the best cards against Defiance, and it's one of the best cards with Defiance.
Can't be stunned.
Yeah, can't be stunned.
And you can also play Sandstorm Titan if you want. That's a good card now that Defiance is better, because more people are playing Defiance than to deal with things, then cards with Endurance get a lot better. That's why back in the day I think Xenon was really good, is because Sandstorm Titan, blanked a lot of removal actually, because they, for a lot of these decks, their goal is either to use Defiance to kill a thing or to stall out to eventually kill a thing, and you couldn't do that versus Sandstorm Titan or Ikaria, which is why those two cards are really good versus Defiance.
Yeah, this is the biggest change I think for the ECQ next week. All right, let's talk about the rest of them. We also have Shardbinder becoming a 3/2. That's the one that makes your first relic activation cheaper, and I think that's cool.
Or
Spellcraft, right? Forget about that. But I like this. This was always an interesting card that it would be cool.
Yeah, as a 3/1, it felt a little bbit understated. As a 3/2, it no longer just dies to a soft breeze. But the really big change, I think, is the middle card of this relic package. It's Ali. Ali, Champion of Kodosh from the Trials of Gurdov campaign, is now a 3 and a Justice. Same stats, same effect. 1/1 ++X equal to the highest cost among your relics. But now it gets to silence an enemy with 5 strength or less, which means that it's now easier to play because it only has 1 Justice influence. And now it deals with more threats, and so the card's so much better. It's so much better. I can't even understand. One of the decks I was considering for the last Expedition ECQ was a Time Justice Primal Relics deck, and Ali was a part of that deck. But Ali couldn't deal with things like Crimson Firemaw, which was a big problem. And it was also kind of hard to play in a 3-faction deck. But now it can deal with some of these bigger threats, and it's so easy to play.
Yeah, I think this is a big change for Expedition, but I don't think it's going to affect the Throne metagame too much.
Oh, no, I don't think there's Vec Throne at all.
Right, because we have better power bases, and we have Valkyrie Enforcer.
Yeah, you also have Rectifier. So.
That's a good point. All right, and Display of Traditions mode of silencing the enemy void is now also draws a card. And I don't think that that's a big change. I think that I think that I don't know. So I was thinking the same thing. I had the same thought as you, where I was like, I'm this big change. Like, wait, isn't it actually kind of like a pretty decent change? Because the thing is, a lot of decks incidentally have some graveyard shenanigans. So, if you're playing against Spellcrag, you'll incidentally have, because you can, because if you silence the enemy void, it silences all of their spells too. So you can make all the torches have no text, which means that their produced sorceries don't do anything. And you can do it in response to sorcery.
So you could do it in response to sorcery, but more likely, if you're just in the mid game, you can, if you need the card, you can just cycle it and then incidentally take out some things of the opponents. take out some. I don't think FTJ actually even Vox has any graveyard void recursion, but like against like Spellcraig, getting rid of some of their torches, right? Making it so they have less options is decent. I still think the card's probably bad, but I'm glad they made the change because it makes the cards surprisingly interesting.
Yes, I agree. And we have 2 more changes to the cards that have big influence requirements. Geminon is now a 5-cost 7/10 with triple fire, triple primal. I think this is a ridiculous change, if nothing else, because
I think the change is ridiculous. It's so funny.
Because now Skycrag has a random 7/10 for 5. Like,
it's so great. It's hilariously it's so hilariously big. Like remember in set 1, Reality Warden, the 5 time justice 7/7.
Yeah, that was there just because it was a huge unit.
Yeah.
Like...
And now Skycrag has the big unit. I think Skycrag has like the biggest units for its cost, so with like no downside, that is.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so funny because it's so comically large now that I love it.
Yeah,
it's probably still terrible, but it's comically large.
I don't know. Like, boy, 5 for a 7. That is big. That is big. That was going to be the biggest thing on the field.
It dodges Ice Bolt.
It does dodge Ice Bolt. Can you think of anything that is bigger than it?
No.
Yeah, I can't either. I mean, they 8/8 that Kato plays.
Sure, I guess Kato makes 8/8. That's fair. I mean, deadly units obviously can deal with it. The reason it's like a 7/10 and not like a 7/7 even back then is because it's supposed to be able to attack and not be like double blocked by things. So that way you can get mastery off. It's 7/10 because of its mastery ability. Let's be clear there.
Yeah, I mean, how realistic is this mastery ability? Deal 100 damage to the enemy player, but you have to get
incredibly. If you're playing Geminon, it's incredibly realistic. That's the only reason you're playing it, right? Is just for its mastery, for the fun.
Oh, okay, so you're building around it. You have to warp your deck around it.
You can if you play Hailstorm after it, then you get like 30 damage if your opponent's playing like 10 Grenadins.
Oh wait, does this curve into? Oh no, Solar Blaze or Solar Wind or whatever. That's 7 damage to everything.
Yeah, that's 7. Oh, it does actually. That is interesting. You can play it with Solar Blast. I mean, it already curved into Solar Blast, but being cheaper is still better because you can play it in like Torch in the same turn or something. Solar Blast doing 7 to everything would also do all sites.
Yeah, so if there are 7, I mean, if there are 7 things in play you deal damage to, you're halfway to your mastery, and then you get to attack. Boom.
If only it was a dragon, Sonny. I wish it was a dragon mage and not just a mage. Isn't he on a dragon? Isn't Geminon like on a dragon? Because if it was a dragon, then you could play it, Solar Blast, and Volatility together.
Oh my god. All right, petitioning Direwolf to change Geminon into a dragon.
100%. I would play that deck. Okay, but more importantly, I think this next change is actually potentially relevant. Surprisingly, Nahid the Immortal was a 7-cost 7/7 time shadow. At the start of each player's turn, they sacrifice a unit. If they can't, Nahid deals 7 damage to them. And then if you have 50 more life, you get to play it for free, which probably won't come up ever.
Wait, but I think that can come up. I think that's the reason to play it, is for a deck that can actually play it. I think that this makes it so that it's not a dead card when you draw it, and you can actually. It's easier to cast from hand.
Here's why it's relevant, Sonny. Here's why it's relevant. Because it now is an even cost card.
Oh! Oh wait, so the quote buff to Geminon was actually a huge nerf because it's no longer even?
Yeah, you can't play even Geminon, although you wouldn't play even Geminon anyways, you need to play weird cards for its mastery.
I see.
Like Solar Blast. But for Nahid, you can play it in even Vox, and it could potentially be really good in even Vox. I was playing like a unitless deck or something, or I mean just like a creation deck, and like they played Nahid the Immortal on me, and I was like, well, this sucks. Because did like 7 damage. I think I still won that game. I don't remember, but like I was impressed by the card. I was like, oh, it costs 6 now, which is actually it's a 7/7 for 6, which is a Grodov Stranger old stat line. We've seen is actually a pretty big attacker, can deal 7 immediately, and it's even. And so you gotta look at the even cards and be like, they are even.
All right, we'll see if that shows up next week. Before we get on to talking about the ECQ too much, there is something very exciting happening this week. Eternal is getting its own version of Cube Draft. It's called Scion's Draft, and it takes all of the... Well, I don't know if I should say all of it, but like a very stacked card pool, and has a phantom draft. You don't get to keep the cards, but you get to play some with some really exciting stuff. And if you're a new player and you haven't played with some of these cards because you just have a new collection, I'd strongly recommend checking it out. It is an absolute blast. Stormblessed, you haven't had a chance to try this out yet, right?
I have not.
Let me tell you if
I
you...
have not. I don't know. What have you learned so far?
Yeah, okay. So there are 2 cards that are in this. I already told you this, but you are very
Oh
excited
yeah,
about
yeah.
this. There's Volatility and Sea of Teeth, which you have talked about a lot.
Oh man, you if long-time listeners will have known that I love Volatility, and I think a Sea of Teeth is actually surprisingly good, especially with Volatility.
Yeah.
And so I have to wonder, did Direwolf do this for me? Did they put Volatility and Sea of Teeth in for me?
They're listening.
I don't know. Maybe they are, or maybe we independently realized that there was a synergy, a combination between these two beautiful cards.
I mean, there's also like Zhou. I don't know how many other dragons there are though, because when someone played Volatility against me, they whiffed, which felt pretty crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, 10 cards in a limited deck. That's a lot of the deck.
I mean, I don't know. I guess you kind of need like 6 to 8 hits before Volatility draws cards regularly in a limited deck. Somewhere between 6 and 8, I think.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head.
Here's another thing that I faced against. You know, Batteries, the creator of the Rats deck, or at least the one that popularized it. I faced against them today, and on turn 2 they played Even-Handed Golem, and they drew 2 cards. And then on turn 3 they played Even-Handed Golem and drew another 2 cards.
In Scion Draft?
In Scion Draft, yes.
How did they play multiple Even-Handed Golems?
Oh, it's not the same as Cube in that there's only one of each card, but like they're each card has the same likeliness of showing up.
Oh, it's just like a pack.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can get multiples. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I am super interested now.
There was something else crazy that happened that game, and I was just like, well, congratulations, opponent, you have my respect.
Play multiple even-handed golems. Oh my god. Oh, you play even-handed golem momentum builder.
I didn't see a momentum builder today.
Into Kaifus.
Oh yeah, I think it was Kaifus. I think they had Kaifus. Anyway,
why are you playing? Why is Spirit of Resistance in this draft?
Okay, well, here's why. So it turns out ramping is really good. So the curves are all very, very high. Like units start at 4 and go up to 8 or 9 as far as cards you're playing are. So decks, I think, should be playing a ton of power. They should be playing a bunch of the time cards. I think time is really powerful for this reason. Like Find the Way is an excellent turn 2 play. Call for Aid is a fantastic turn 4 play. What else? Oh, Waystone Gate. That one is a huge one. Waystone Gate usually gets all of its activations out and innate, the best cards in the format, I think. So, you get up to huge power amounts. I definitely had 12 power in a lot of my games. I didn't quite get the Pale Rider's Locket mastery, or not mastery, spellcraft off, but I definitely played a lot of things that cost a lot. I played so many Svetyas.
Whispers in the Void. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Also, okay, this is my quick tip. Don't play Piercing Grief. Never play Piercing Grief. Card is really bad. It tricks you into thinking that it's good. It makes you think that you're doing a lot with the card, because it's like, oh my god, you're gaining 6. You're getting 3 life. You're dealing 3 life. It's like a life stealing of 6. It's got charge. It's got revenge, so it sacrifices itself, and then it shuffles your deck, and then you draw a card. You play, and you draw another card, and you deal another 3, you get another 3. But after all that, what have you done? Nothing.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's the card game that does that tricks you into thinking that it does the most while doing actually nothing, because you play it, it draws itself back, it shuffles into your deck, it sacrifices, it gains some life, it draws a card, it charges, but really doesn't do anything. So just don't play Piercing Grief. Just stop playing it, people.
I agree.
Stop playing Piercing Grief. Anyways, that's my Piercing Grief rant. Yeah. Too many people play Piercing Grief, unless you've got like Kilo or something, and even then I play better cards.
Yeah, I agree with that. Anyway, so yeah, the format's a lot of fun. You get to play some huge cards. You have to play around sweepers. There are 4 sweepers by my count in the format. There are actually probably more. I didn't count Wander into Shadow. That's not what it's called. There's what's the Stray into Shadow? I didn't count that one. But there's Harsh Rule, Shenra Speaks, End of the Story, and Agestorn Vestige, and they all appear at the same rate as every other card. So yeah, there are a lot of sweepers, so watch out for that.
Stray into Shadow is in the format?
Yes.
So that's a 5th sweeper?
Yeah, but I don't think it's very good. Like, I think that things that check on health of opposing units isn't very good, because all the units are so big. Like I said,
no, I don't.
People...
Wait, so Sonny, I'm looking at the list of cards on the website, and there's a Gunslinger Dinosaur for 4, Shadow, and is a rare, but they don't give you a name for this card. Do you know what a Gunslinger Dinosaur for 4 Shadow would be?
Yes, it's the one that inspires for Deadly and has Nightfall. It's like Carrick's Coast Driver or whatever.
Go character switch over. Yes. Okay. Cool. Because on the website it just has the name _B. I'm not wrong. It's just lowercase b. That's its name.
Well, we've confirmed that Direwolf is listening, so whoever's listening in, maybe get on that for next time.
Oh, there's also Solar Blast in the set too. That's another, what's it called?
Sweeper.
Board wipe.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see one. That's interesting. Anyway, it's a blast. Definitely go check it out. Be aware of the sweepers. Build decks that go big, like big.
Oh, you can play Geminon, Solar Blast, and Scion Drafts.
All this constructed combos. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the ECQ. That's happening next week. That's a big deal. I mean, all the ECQs are. Any inclinations on what deck you expect to be good? What deck you might play? What are you thinking of for this ECQ?
Well, first off, even Vox is a high contender for me right now. At the very least, I think it probably should, unless these balance changes have affected the meta so much so, it probably should be like where even Elysian was at before. I think it's an incredibly powerful deck. It should be considered the level 1 deck, at least at this point in my mind. Beyond that, I still want to look into my volatility FTJ creation deck because I love volatility, so I'm going to keep trying to break that, because I love the card so much. Beyond that, I think I'm not sure about the unitless decks, although they do seem quite interesting to me, so I think there could be something there. What else is good? Oh, merchants, so like maybe FJS. Oh, I don't know. I guess Defiance is back, so that's kind of a hard thing to sell for Stone Scar, so I don't know actually after that.
Yeah, it's really tough for Stone Scar, but
thoughts?
like decks like Vox don't care that much about things like Defiance. But you know what is really good? What is good against Defiance, if there's a resurgence of Defiance, is decks that play Ikaria and Naoki.
Oh, yeah.
Naoki is very good against Defiance as well.
Yeah, so Ikaria decks are probably in a prime spot right now. It's possible FJS becomes good again. I wouldn't be terribly surprised if FJS was good.
Yeah, they need some way of answering Vox, right? Maybe if there's Statuary Maiden, like maybe that's a good way of dealing with it, especially if a lot of people are moving off Torch to in favor of
harsh rules. I mean, FGS with harsh rules in the deck, right? I think the harsh rule version of FGS is better. So you have to do 4+1, you 4+1 with, end of the story in the market or whatever.
Yeah. Or you could just play one harsh rule. The FTJ deck that I was playing only played one harsh rule, and FTJ felt really good. I mean, I would not be opposed to running that back. It definitely has a problem against Even Vox, but knowing that Even Vox is, a real deck and going to be a big player, I think that, we'll see if there's a way to tech against it.
So I have a question about how did Naoki go for you? Because does the deck have enough units for its Exalted to matter?
Yeah, it's surprising because Naoki, before playing in that event, all of my experiences were with Naoki where this is not good enough, right? I think a lot of people had that same experience. It looks like a really good card on paper, and it just was underwhelming. But it really ended up working in this deck for whatever reason. I mean, I guess there were just a lot of utility units, like the 8 merchants, the I don't remember how many Desert Marshals, and then the 4 Pride Leaders. It ended up working out really well, and Naoki was a house all weekend for me.
Do you think you'd switch? Some Defiances into the deck? Because currently the one Keith Pellig has on the deck list page does not have any Defiances, playing Desert Marshal instead.
Well, yeah, I don't think that Defiance was worth it if it can only kill a 2-cost unit.
But now, what would you play instead?
Well, I don't know, because you don't want to cut torches for Defiance, that's for sure.
Sure. Power Stone?
Oh, Power Stone was good, though. Power Stone was good. I mean, yeah, I think that the Grodov Stranger added a little clunk, and that's probably being cut anyway, but, Rezon's really good, too, for the deck. The deck is really surprisingly unit-based. It's not really like a control deck. It's kind of a mid-range deck.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think the classic creation builds with 4 Karia's main, like Rezon, Naoki, I don't think that is a control deck. I think that's a mid-range deck.
Yeah, that's how it felt.
The volatility version is a control deck,
All right, so you're going to be playing Defiant. Hey, people listening to the podcast, if you face against Stormblessed during the ECQ, watch out for the Defiance, because he's going to have it.
I mean, if I'm playing Justice, I'm probably playing Defiance. Yeah, I'm not saying for certain, but if you see a Justice influence from me in the ECQ, probably have some Defiance in there, unless I'm playing even Justice.
Are you sure
somehow.
It's not going to be Finest Hour? I don't know, it could be Finest Hour.
I don't think I've played a Finest Hour in my life.
Wow, not even Limited? It's so good in Limited.
Okay, I had played in Limited. I was exaggerating, Sonny. Thanks for calling me out on it. I was trying to exaggerate for comedic emphasis. I've never been a big fan of Finest Hour. Combat Tricks, really. I don't like them very much because I get blown out too much.
Uh-huh.
So I just kind of stopped playing that style of Combat Trick deck. That being said, there are some that I like. Amory's Choice, Stand Together are Combat Tricks that I love.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I bring a deck not too different from the deck that I played at the last Throne ECQ. I mean, Teacher of Humility has just kind of fallen off the face of the planet, and yeah, it dies to Blazing Salvo, but it seems like really good against a lot of the decks right now.
Yeah. Oh, so you're saying that you might go back to your Combray deck.
Yeah.
Might revisit that.
Yeah, I'll take a
See if
look
there's
at
any new
it.
cards to add to it.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that aside from like Vox and Blight, which admittedly those are huge cards, and they made a new deck basically. Whispers of the Throne hasn't really changed things too much for Throne, right? Like a lot of the Throne decks are still going to be the same as they were in the last Throne ECQ because the last Throne ECQ the set just came out. So the real difference is the exploration of the set. There's not like a super amount of new cards for the format. Like things are going to be the same. One of the things I like to think about, consider greatly when I build a deck for an ECQ like this is I want to play as many Throne only cards as possible. Because if it's not Expedition, there might be a reason for that. And so if I can maximize the amount of cards that are not Expedition legal, then I think that I can have a powerful deck. Exceptions are like even Vox, because that deck is dumb.
Yeah, well...
And even-handed Golem betrays all my principles.
Well, I mean, it makes sense to want to play a lot of the cards that aren't included in Expedition, for example, Torch.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it make sense to play a lot of the new cards? Because if there are ever broken cards, it's usually something new that they missed on balance, on development, didn't quite balance correctly, and is just super busted. Like,
well, at this point, we've had 2 months of the balance changes, right? So there's a lot less of those.
Well, not for. I mean, Vox is part of...
Which card is super busted from the new set?
Well, Vox is part of the cycle of 3 faction 2-cost cards. Like, maybe we'll see a different one show up. Although,
even Kilo was a thing. Even Kilo.
I talked about this.
That was a flash in the pan moment.
Well, I think the Kilo deck is probably fine. I just don't think it should be an even deck. Anyway, people have heard me talk about this.
So the thing about the even Keel deck is that, or even just Kilo in general, is that it's a powerful card, probably a powerful deck. But again, a lot of those cards are not Expedition only, right? Like when you're playing Black Sky Harbor into like Azendels or Devars or whatever, those aren't Expedition things. Those are although Var's Expedition, but. Mainly those aren't Expedition things. A lot of those are like powerful Throne things, and you're using Keels and Enabler. Like the even Vox deck is probably the closest thing to an Expedition port to Throne, because I think every card in the deck basically is Expedition legal except for Even-Handed Golem.
Yeah, and the power base.
Yeah, except for I guess the crests or whatever. Sure, I mean crests are very good, but I think of crests as being mostly Even-Handed Golem thing anyways. So, but that's just because. Well, Even-Handed Golem is incredibly powerful, and Vox is incredibly powerful. The best things are corrupted units to go with it, obviously. So it's kind of like the exception to my rule, which is disappointing, because otherwise my general rule works out a lot better if even Vox wasn't a deck. But ignoring that, any of the unitless decks are obviously, very decks that couldn't exist in Expedition. Stone Scar couldn't exist in Expedition as it is. Yeah, FTJ couldn't exist in Expedition as it is.
Yeah.
So yeah. So you're saying, do you think your Combray deck could be good enough still?
Well, I mean,
your top 4 finish.
I mean, maybe it flies out. Like part of the point of that deck was that it flies over, and right, a big reason why Vox is so good against aggro is because you have infinite blockers, right?
And I guess if you're playing all the silence stuff too, silence is particularly good against any corrupted unit.
Yeah. So
make Blightmoth a 1/2 ground person.
Yeah, I mean, I
Kato's
guess
just a 2/1.
Yeah, but I guess like Blightmoth killing off an initiative sand is such a huge liability.
Oh
so,
yeah.
I mean, maybe there's some tinkering that can be done. Maybe we play some sort of like even Combray that tries to go Teacher Amy's Choice or something. But
oh my god, don't God, when is Daryl gonna deal with this even-handed gold issue? Make it a 4-cost 3/3 or a 4-cost 4/4.
I mean, we've talked about this too, but I think it's just it's people like it too much. I mean,
I guess I just think
again,
I think markets are the most fun in Eternal, both playing with and against markets. Having to play around things is really fun and really skill testing.
Oh shoot, you know what? Are there market cards that are there are bargain cards that are even, right? Now you can play them without having a market spell, right?
Well, yeah. If you look at that's why they're playing Arc of Soul and Draconic Ire.
Oh shoot, because they can play in the market. Oh right, that was a big part of the even deck. You're right.
Yeah, so all of the even decks are playing at least Arc of Soul, and some of them are playing Draconic. Now, mind you, all of them should be playing Draconic Ire and Arc of Soul. and left or right dead drop technically for the for the very slim outs.
Yeah.
But the reason you played Draconic Ire, by the way, not just Arc of Soul, is that one, some of the decks are playing Carve It, Sunny's favorite card.
Somehow made it to Throne.
So then you have actual dragon. Yeah, I know. Murder of Crows, by the way, the person you refused to acknowledge earlier, playing the singular Carve It. So if you're playing an actual dragon, obviously Dragon is good, but also cards like Equivocate exist, and so you can have your units transformed to other units, and if they're transformed into a dragon, or if somehow you got your units transformed to two elves,
two elves seems tough.
Hit them with two elves,
2 Onis, two Yeti seems
well,
kind of tough.
Well, you shouldn't play the other one. I guess you should play all of them. Actually, technically, you should be playing all of them because you can get all the influences off of Interloper. Technically, it is technically correct to play all 5 of the bargain spells because you get them off of Interloper. And that means it's technically true. Interloper, secretly the best card in the tournament.
Oh my god, that card also making it into Throne. Oh my god, this is just
I know.
This is just a nightmare for me. Everything that I have feared has come to pass. Oh my goodness.
There were more rectifiers than Grodov Strangers in the top 16 of the Expedition ECQ.
Oh my goodness.
So these nightmares about draft commons coming to haunt him.
I quit Eternal. This is the end. I can't anymore. I just can't. All right. Well, I'm not actually quitting. Just in case anyone was confused, I will still be crushing people in the ECQ.
Sonny lied. He lied to all of you. You heard it here first.
I still plan on winning many games in the preliminary stages of the ECQ. All right. Well, good luck to everyone playing in the ECQ next week. Should be exciting to see what happens, especially now that we have a new player and a bunch of big balance changes leading up to it. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it turns out, and hopefully it's not just a bunch of win chest, not FTS win chest mirrors again, because we've been there.
It's all win chest. You should be playing Maul. Maul's good against win. No, it's not. But when the metagame was 75% win chest, I thought Maul was actually surprisingly decent. It's the only time I thought Maul was ever decent.
Yeah, it's a fine ladder deck, but I don't think you want to be playing it in an elimination tournament. Remember when we had that tournament that was all Argenport mirrors? Like, we had all of Team Rankstar was on Argenport, and we just saw mirrors mirrors lasted an hour, and that was just the longest tournament in the world. Let's please not have that again.
What about all cultists? Well, if it's all even Vox, the games will last even longer. By the way, the even Vox mirror is long. It's incredibly fun, but it's very long.
That seems a lot better than the Argenport mirror, though, because that one was decided by such ridiculous things. Like,
not as ridiculous as as Xenon Stranger Mirror.
Hey, I actually liked the Stranger Mirrors, because it was, I think a lot of people didn't realize what was going on during the mirror, and like, if you actually knew what was your path to victory, you could wait. Like, you wait until your opponent plays a Grodov Stranger, and then you play a bunch of strangers all at once.
So why did you think the Argenport mirror was so miserable then?
Because people were playing all these removal spells that were like largely dead, right?
What removal spell was dead against Argenport from Argenport?
I mean, it's not dead. It's just like not very effective. I don't know.
Because all their cards are 2 for 1. Yes,
yeah, like
right, yeah.
Mokto, stealing opponent's Moktos with what's it called? The 2-1, the 1-2. What's up, editing Sunyveil, stepping in just to clear up some confusion. I am actually conflating 2 ECQs. One is Promises by Firelight, which is a Throne ECQ, and the following ECQ, which was ECQ Strange Lands, which was Expedition. And both featured Argenport decks prominently. The former with a deck that Dark Revenger piloted in top 10, and the latter with the deck that lights out Ace won it all with. Anyway, both tournaments had feature matches that showcased an Argenport mirror, and it took a very long time each time. All right, back to this confusion discussion. Here we go. The card that steals a card from their top of the deck.
Mokto wasn't Expedition legal, right?
It wasn't? I'm pretty sure this was, or I don't know, it was stealing some sort of Destiny card.
That was the Tazboo mirror, right? That was the Tazboo event where everyone's playing It was Tazboo and Carve It and Impending Doom, right?
Oh, I guess
this is the meta you're talking about.
I guess the Destiny card it was stealing was Crownwatch Press Gang.
Were they playing Press Gang? I didn't play Argenport in that ECQ, so I don't remember very well.
Jeez, what? Yeah, I can't remember why it was so ridiculous. There was something that cared about not taking damage. It couldn't have been Siditi, was it?
No, because it was the Tazboo event.
Yeah, but like, okay, so there was something that cared about damage and like playing a spell into
Was the Mirror's Nightshade event?
Huh?
Was this the 1-2? Were people playing the 1-2? Was that even Expedition legal?
Maybe this is Throne.
The twist? Was there an Expedition event in Throne? I mean, not Expedition. Was there Argenport ECQ and Throne? I don't remember.
Man, maybe I'm just totally losing it. That's not a good thing to admit on air, is it? There was like some weird interaction where you would get disrupted by the 1-2 hitting you or something like that. Oh, no. Nope, it wasn't Azendel. Dang it, I do not remember.
I mean, it was. Are you thinking of the listener? It was a bunch of Invoke nonsense.
Maybe it is. Okay, I forget. I throw in the towel. I can't. If you're out there listening, please comment and tell me what I'm trying to remember, or if I'm just totally imagining it. And the things that
there was this one drop that was like a 1-1, and if your opponent played it, or you played it, or someone played it, someone lost the game immediately.
That doesn't sound correct.
That's what I'm hearing from you. That's my interpretation of what you're saying.
No, it's the 1-2 whenever an opponent plays a spell that deals 1 damage.
Was that legal? Were people playing it?
There was some I don't know, it was really confusing.
Was that even Expedition legal? I don't think that was Expedition legal, was it?
I don't know, but like the decks that people were playing were Crown Rush Press Gang for that card, and there was some really big reason that like the pings really mattered. I forget why. Like, was it possible because
I'm crazy or Sunny's crazy?
No, it must have been Safiti. It must have been.
No one played Safiti. People were playing Tazbu. It was the Tazbu cast the Shadow of Pending Doom Makar listener.
Oh my god.
It was Incarnus. That was all Incarnuses.
Okay, Sunny is losing it. We need to sign off for tonight.
No one played Safiti.
I am so confused. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, thanks everyone out there listening to FECast. Good luck next week in the ECQ. Hopefully I'll get my bearings in the show that comes before then and give you some actual good advice instead of just our whatever this episode was. Jeez, I can't believe I said FTS instead of SJS also. Anyway, Stormblessed, would you like to shout out anything?
Shout out to social distancing. Everyone stay indoors, stay safe, don't infect other people, make sure your families are okay, and be cool. Keep playing Eternal.
All right. As always, shout outs to our patrons who help make this show possible. We have Chris Ye, Yeast Out, Chamomilk, Work Done Son, and G-Dub. Thank you very much for your support of FECast and Friends of Eternal. If you would like to be like these lovely people and help support the show, you can go to patreon.com/Friends of Eternal. Also, be sure to check out the Discord. It is the best place to talk about competitive Eternal. I mean, every time there's a tournament, it seems like congratulations to these 4 people from the Discord for making top 8, or these 5 people in this case. Not going to forget about Murder of Crows again. So if you want to learn from these excellent players, be sure to check out the Discord. Link is in the description as always. Thank you for joining me tonight and keeping me at least on some sort of straight path, Stormblessed. And thank you for listening to me. Thank you for listening, everyone out there. And until next time, we will see you in the friend zone. Friends of Eternal is awesome, but you know what's even more awesome? Our amazing patrons over at patreon.com. That's right, Friends of Eternal now has a Patreon where you can help support the content and initiatives of Friends of Eternal. If you enjoy FECast and you enjoy the Piloting Club and you want to join the people that make all this possible and sustainable, be sure to head over to patreon.com/Friends of Eternal and consider donating. Every little bit does help. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time on FECast.